All right. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Grant here with another Gutter Growth podcast for you. Today on the Gutter Growth podcast, I've got Jason Plett with me, the CFO of the FlexKeeper. If you're still catching your breath after tax season, this one is for you. We're talking about what happens after the write-offs, getting your books clean, understanding your margins, and making sure the IRS doesn't come knocking because you forgot those quarterly payments. What's going on, Jason?
What's going on, Grant? Good to be here.
You know,
I'm
man, go ahead.
I'm just trying to chill on my virtual beach here now that tax season is over. Got the race. I got a few cocktails, and we'll go from there.
It's a good time to be alive, man. Let's talk about for first-time listeners to the podcast and people that didn't get to meet you at the summit or haven't seen you on other episodes. Will you just let people know what exactly the FlexKeeper is and who do you serve best?
Absolutely, Grant. So the FlexKeeper is a full-service financial firm here in Boynton Beach, Florida. We basically can handle all your financial needs straight from just doing a simple bank rec and getting your accounting going, all the way up to doing strategic planning, cash forecasting, budgeting, margin analysis, and everything in between that, right up to tax services, preparing and filing your federal tax returns and personal tax returns. So we do it all. We have a wide range of small businesses that we deal with, but obviously, thanks to our partnership with you and Gutter Growth, we're specializing in the gutter industry and trying to help your clients, who are now becoming our clients, make better financial decisions, as well as getting their taxes filed and making sure they're staying compliant with the federal government.
Fabulous. If you guys noticed, he said Boynton Beach, and yes, we are neighbors. I can't quite throw a football to your house, but I can get there in about 2 or 3 minutes.
We're going to have to invest in some golf carts or something. We'll just soup them up, but we have to put the Tesla self-driving on them so we don't actually have to steer over to each other's house.
So I'm really excited for this season because, I'm here locally with you now, and you were just able to really serve me and Lisa in a great way. You did our taxes for us. We went from our old guy who had no problems with, but obviously partnering with you, we wanted to make sure that we really understood who you were, how you and Jody serve your clients. And man, we are like just blown away with the amount of resources you've just given us verbally, because I'm gonna be the first one to admit, understanding the bookkeeping side, although I'm good at the KPIs, I'm still a complete rookie when it comes to the bookkeeping and the tax keeping responsibilities. And you have just given me so much information. So to our viewers, I'm currently using Jason. You've got me set up with my S Corp now. And, I own several businesses and I'm starting more. And so I'm really understanding, you're educating me and Lisa really well on how we should be positioning ourselves and preparing ourselves.
Well, it's very interesting, Grant, because one of the major things that we're about to undertake for you specifically is actually setting up your new venture, Mother's Gutters, with an accounting software. We're going to utilize QuickBooks Online to set you guys up. We're going to, collaborate with you on a chart of accounts and make sure that we're capturing all the things that we need to capture in your accounting software. And then we're going to give you some education as to how, you've obviously hired us to do the accounting work, but we're going to, come along with you and hold your hand and, give you a crash course on QuickBooks and financials and the proper recording of your income and expenses, and making sure that your balance sheet looks exactly how a balance sheet should look. So I'm pretty excited about where we're going with your specific business right here after tax season.
Yeah, that's going to be great. So that was going to be one of my first questions for you. And it's something that I'm living in and learning right now. And obviously having a fabulous mentor. Let me speak to maybe the smaller owner operators out there in the seamless gutter industry that are listening today about this possible fear. Because I know there's some guys out there, Jason, that they know how to do their books, and they're that rare breed, right? They know how to do them, and they should be doing. There's a lot of people that are somewhere in the middle, and then there's guys like myself that were like, I don't even know where to begin, right? I just know I'm making money, or I think I am, and now they're coming into this season of, a lot more group effort, industry effort, coaching efforts on Facebook specifically, and in different groups, where guys are starting to get to know their numbers. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I know we're going to be successful at Mothers or some of the other companies that you're doing the bookkeeping for me. It's exciting to know that I'm not looking at it like, oh man, I've got to pay the bookkeeper. I'm really paying you, and I'm getting an education if I actually pay attention to what you're telling me, because I know I've listened to you with some of your other clients, and I'm learning the way that you conduct yourself in the FlexKeeper business. Employees and owners conduct themselves. And it's just one of like, hey, here's some good advice of what we know works.
Basement flooding, roof leaks, mold.
No. Have to clean the gutters.
Go back to sleep, honey. We installed one gutter guard.
Prevent unexpected and costly damage from clogged gutters. Protect your home with one gutter guard, the trusted solution for gutter protection. Call us today to schedule your free gutter inspection and estimate.
We know works. If you do it, and like you said, kind of walk along with you that path, there's not going to be all these big F-ups and headaches and nightmares.
Yeah, and that's the key here, Grant. What we prefer to do as a company is really get guys that are kind of like, yes, I know I need an accounting system. I don't know where to start. I'm kind of confused as to what, a profit and loss tells me. I don't really, this is just a wall of numbers to me, and it's very overwhelming. And I'm just, we're excited to partner with your members in, especially those guys that are like, where do I start? Like, that's really the hardest thing of anything to do, right? Is to basically find a starting point and to basically, discipline yourself to, this is something that's important that I got to get done. So we would prefer right from the onset for people that are like, how do I do my accounting? I'm doing it in Excel, or I'm doing it, I'm kind of running it through my CRM or any, my job software, and it's not really telling me what I need to do. So I need to, get started and be smarter about how I set this up. That's where we really like clients to come to us, because here's what nobody tells you, okay? And I'm not going to tell you this either. Well, I am about to tell you this. I'm about to dispense some truth to you. And that is that people think, okay, I'm going to do this for a while myself because I'm going to save myself a few dollars. So I'm going to do the accounting myself. I'm going to set it up myself. I'm going to, hook up my bank feeds to QBO, and I'm going to start invoicing out of it or whatever. And then they get 6, 8, a year down the road, hey, I got to file a tax return. And now they come to me with their books. And I think my books are kind of screwed up. That's generally, people kind of know when they screw things up, but they're not 100% sure. And then they want me to come along behind them and fix everything that they've messed up. Right. And let me tell you, this is an expensive thing. Okay. So generally we, most people in the accounting industry will be like, oh, well, it's actually cheaper for me to come behind you and clean stuff up. No, that's a fallacy. Okay. Our company actually charges more. Right. If we have to clean your stuff up versus if you would have just hired us to start and you've got everything in the right place. You've got somebody on our team that is looking at your books on a monthly basis, and so on and so forth. So what I want, not that we don't want to clean up stuff. Listen, we are full service. Like I said, we're full service. We like to serve our clients. We like to get them straightened out. And we do like to work with them on cleanup and trying to, be affordable in the cleanup, because it can be a very expensive proposition, but it's cheaper in the long run if you just say, bite the bullet and say, I'm going to get a good finance guy on my team and in my corner, and he's going to make sure that things get set up right. My taxes get filed at the end of the year, and I'm not going to worry about it. Now, here's the thing.
Okay.
If you come to me and say, I just want basic bookkeeping and all that, that's where you want to start. And that's basically tier 1 of our services. Okay. We'll set you up. We'll do we'll do a bank reconciliation. We'll put stuff in the right buckets and so on and so forth. What we will also do is, once we get you set up and correctly and are correctly categorizing things for you, we want to hear from you as a business owner what you're looking at in your financials and what will help you make a better decision as to what you're doing in your business. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be your financial partner, but we also want you to not just do the books to, I know I have to file a tax return, so I'm going to do this accounting stuff and it's going to cost me a lot of money and I'm not going to see any value in it. Okay, so that's one line of thinking, but what I'd prefer for our owners to do is actually care about what is produced out of their financials on a monthly basis, and then tell me, hey, I would really like to see what my margin is on this, or what I'm doing here, or I would like to break out my income into more revenue streams, not just gutter installation, because while gutter installation is obviously the main thing that you do, right? You maybe have other lines of service. Maybe you're selling the leaf guard, and you want to see, okay, what is my leaf guard sales? Maybe you're selling. I know you have this ingenious product. I don't know that you came up with it. I'll give you credit if you did, but the thing at the bottom of the downspout.
Oh, the gutter. No, not mine. I'm just a friend and a sales rep for them.
Okay,
it's an amazing product.
Yeah, so maybe you want to see, hey, how many of my jobs am I putting this gutter gate on? I mean, I'm just obviously I'm talking off the off the hip here, because I'm not involved in your day-to-day business.
Yeah, let me add to that in just gutter terms, and two things that you said. First off, I love that you said, listen, we'll take you in, we'll help you, we'll massage your back, we'll clean up your mess, and there's a fee for that. And to say that in gutter terms for you gutter owners and installers that are getting ready to open your own business or just want to continue to educate, it's just like when the customer went with the wrong company, the cheap company, they messed up all the gutters, and they think because they already have, these working gutters on their home, that you can come in really cheaply and just redo them. When we talk about that all the times in the chats, like, no, it's going to be way more costly to not do things the right time. Secondly, I thought bookkeeping was extremely expensive. These years I've been making good money. And now that you're taking care of 4 or 5, soon to be 6 businesses for me, the cost is extremely fair. I mean, I wouldn't say it's free, but the cost is extremely fair for what I'm getting in return, which is knowing my numbers. Diving into your next part, where when you partner with a bookkeeper like you're willing to do, especially as you're becoming gutter industry specific because of our relationship, and you wanting to serve the industry and be the probably leading bookkeeper for a lot of our really good, strong customers we have in gutter growth, he hit the nail on the head when he said you could talk to him about well, I'd like to have better margins on the guard or on this machine or on this investment.
So this is what I found.
Okay, so you're telling me my clogged gutters caused all this? I had no idea.
Yeah, unfortunately, most homeowners don't think about their gutters until this kind of stuff happens.
Wow.
Prevent unexpected and costly damage from clogged gutters. Protect your home with one gutter guard, the trusted solution for gutter protection. Call us today to find out why more homeowners are choosing one gutter guard.
Investment. That's the type of relationship I want to have with my bookkeeper. Absolutely. Because tell me a little bit, how should we be looking at that? How does good bookkeeping make or break those margins?
So the first thing is that you as a business owner have to be invested in that. You have to want to understand your margins, and you have to direct me as to what is important.
Right.
So how can we set up your financials in the way that best serves you as our client? Okay. So we do have a standard kind of chart of accounts that we utilize for the gutter industry, but it's not perfect and it's not for everyone. So what we want to do is we want to put the standard template in place, and then we want to massage it for what you want to see. And I know, like, I've been working with a gutter owner for the last year, and you know, his complaint was kind of, well, at the end of the month, I don't have enough money. I'm like basically bleeding my bank account dry. What am I doing here? What am I doing wrong? Because I seem to have all the proper margins. I seem to, you know, be getting, you know, a 50% margin on product. You know, I seem to be getting, you know, 20% on my, you know, labor, or, you know, whatever the margin is. I mean, again, you can probably speak better to what the actual good margin is. Right. But he was basically coming to the end of the month and he didn't have any money left in his bank account. And he was like, I just don't understand what's going on. So what I did is we went in and we started going line by line with identifying where he was spending his money. So we found out, yeah, he's getting the, you know, good margin on his you know, his product, on his product sale. He was maybe he was slightly overpaying his installers by a couple of percentage points, which, you know, again, it could vary. It can be cyclical. Some, you know, jobs he maybe just didn't bid right, and he didn't take into account the time that it was going to take for his installers to do the job or whatever. So he was just slightly over there. So it was like a kind of a highlight of, okay, maybe you should do better in pricing your jobs out as far as your labor goes.
Yes. And if that's repetitive, Jason, those numbers will start to just disappear on you. Right.
Yes, absolutely. But the very interesting thing was what we found out relatively quickly from looking at his financials is that he was spending about 20% of his top line revenue on advertising.
Wow.
And it you know, and we're not talking about a small company. We're talking, you know, a very, you know, approaching $1 million of sales.
Yep.
And basically think about, if you're spending $200,000 on advertising, you know, that's a big number. And that's
if
a
you're
lot.
not getting your return on it, it's different if you've keyed in and you're in a spend, you know, season. But when you're not getting it back, I mean, you want to be in that 7 to 10.
Absolutely. And Grant, you just hit the nail on the head. So what I advised him is that for this type of revenue generation that you're doing, you should probably only spend about $100,000 to create the $1 million of top line revenue. And by the way, if you cut your advertising spend by 10% to a acceptable margin, all of a sudden you have $100,000 in your bank account, not zero.
Right.
And, you know, if you're a small, you know, operator, you know, again, Grant, you're going to tell me how much one guy can do in a year. But
very so much, but yeah, 500,000 ish.
Yeah. So, but if you're doing $1 million and you can put 100,000 into your pocket plus pay yourself some money, that's a good living, right? That's a good business. You don't have to do anything else but work your business. So immediately he started diving into, where am I spending my advertising dollars? Oh, I'm spending, he had 5 or 6 places, and he was like, okay,
everything probably at that rate.
He did, but the interesting thing was he identified within about 5 minutes of us talking what advertising avenue was not working.
He had to dive in.
Immediately cut it out. But that was something that he didn't actually, we were doing his bookkeeping, we were doing his accounting, all his numbers were there, but he was not using those numbers in his accounting software to help him make decisions.
Yeah.
He was just going by a gut, like, oh, I think I should, I heard this is a good place to advertise. Mm-hmm. Oh, I heard, I read that the Clipper magazine is good. I don't know if they have the Clipper magazine in Texas, but you'll start to get it down there in Boynton. But and some of these things just they seem like they would be good, they're gonna work, but they don't. And if you're in your numbers and you're like, wow, I'm overspending here, what can I cut out, or what can I identify to cut? The decision went from him just thinking that this might be a good spend to him realizing, oh, I've dumped 50,000 into this company, and they've given me like 2 jobs. Like, why am I spending all this money?
It's great to have that resource in your bookkeeper that'll pick up the phone and talk to you, during business hours at the right times, etc. Right? To be able to sometimes just keep you straight. And that's what I'm using you for, right? So I'm making another decision, hey, when you get a minute, Jason, I just need some advice on the best way to not frustrate you down the road where you're going to have to charge me more to clean up my mess. That's essentially what it is. I call my bookkeeper and I say, what's the proper way to do this so that I'm pleased and you're pleased, and we just keep it moving, right? And I don't incur all these cleanup costs. I want to plug you really quick. People can find you at theflexkeeper.com, right? And
that's absolutely.
They can also see you at the opening day of the summit. You and Jody will be there again. Thank you very much for your support in that. If for you listeners that want to pick Jason's brain in real life, he's going to be there. So come on out, check us out at the summit. Check out Jason and Jody and the FlexKeeper there. And they start off our amazing event with some really cool stuff and some education. So you don't want to miss that. And I think also we've been talking about doing some type of webinar or something where we're not just kind of talking about the what ifs and the maybes. This summer, we can get you to kind of walk us through just, bookkeeping 101, and we'll let all you listeners come in and join that. Jason does a fabulous job of educating on just how to get started a little bit. Changing pace here. I know that it's time where tax season just got over. I know what you've been talking to me about, and you talked to others about, is these quarterly estimated payments. And how can people get on board with that and really believe in it? Get us some conviction about why that is a good support system to not be behind in.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant. I love this topic of conversation, and it comes up more and more in my practice. And that is that when you owe money to the IRS, the tax software will spit out a estimated quarterly payment. And it's usually, depending on how I have my software tagged, it will generally be, 5 to 10% more, estimating a 5 to 10% growth of your business, and therefore will give you what your estimated quarterly payment should be. So a lot of my business owners, they see this and they're like, well, what are these 4 payments that it's talking about? Like, I have to pay the IRS a lump sum of money, and now I have to pay these four payments. Well, the thing is these 4 payments are optional. They are not required to be made by you. However, if you take the stance that I'm not going to make those 4 estimated payments, and next year you owe the IRS the same amount, or maybe you owe them a little more because your business grew, the IRS is now going to penalize you more than they would have if you had made the payment. So in other words, the way the IRS system works is that they can charge you penalties and interest the minute that you owe them more than $1,000. So the IRS has set up these very convenient measurement dates. I'm not going to get into the exact dates of the coupon payments, but essentially there's 4 of them. And if you owe the IRS more than $1,000 come tax time, they'll calculate your interest based on when they assume that you hit that $1,000 liability. Okay. So if you have a $4,000 payment due on April 15th, they might charge you interest from September 15th. That's when they estimated that you owed the 4,000. So now you're going to get an interest, and then also you get a failure to deposit penalty, which is a percent of the amount that you owe. So this failure to deposit penalty could be up to $500 to $800.
Okay.
And that's not the interest. That's just the penalty.
Right.
So all of those things can be avoided by simply making the estimated payment that the tax software spits out. So you make this estimated payment, and as long as you're making it, you're basically going to avoid getting the dreaded failure to deposit penalty. So here's the lesson. If you owe the IRS a bunch of money, and then the next year you get these estimated payments and you make them, you will save, even if you still owe maybe your business did super good, maybe your business doubled, and now instead of a $4,000 tax bill, you got an $8,000 tax bill. If you made the estimated payments to say $5,000, because that's what the 4 payments are going to be estimated about, the IRS will not charge you a failure to deposit penalty because you made the estimated payments according to what you did the prior year. So you would save yourself anywhere between $500 and $800 by simply making this estimated payment. It's not that hard. The IRS is completely online. You can go to the irs.gov. You can make a estimated payment, on the quarter. I don't even say, I say, pick a time. Maybe you have cash flow issues. Maybe during the summer, you don't do a lot of gutter installations. Maybe all your work is here in the wintertime. So make payments according to your cash flow schedule. The IRS has these dates where they want you to make them. But if those dates don't work for you or your business, move the date, still make that estimated payment. So you're going to avoid the failure to deposit penalty. You're also going to pay less interest because now the IRS will not necessarily charge you interest back to a certain date that they think you went over that $1,000 liability. Okay. And by the way, if you're paying me $1,200 to do a tax return and you saved yourself $800 by making an estimated payment, you've almost paid for my fees just by a couple of clicks. And then, by the way, also, if you doubled your business and you owed $4,000, for last year's taxes, but you discipline yourself and you make these payments and you make $5,000 of payments and you owe $8,000, now you've only got to come out of pocket for $3,000 because you disciplined yourself. And that's not, listen, I know $3,000 is a lot of money for some people, but that's better than coming out of pocket for $8,000
Yeah.
if you did really, really well.
Yeah.
So that's why I just love my clients that they come in and like, I made the estimated payments, because when I submit their tax return, I'm 98% confident they're not going to get a little notice from the IRS after they make the payment that says, oh, by the way, you have penalties and interest because you owed this amount of money.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's solid. And that's just like the tip of the advice that you have, and just a whole variety of financial like movements and operations for your small business. Like, you know how people get, we were joking the other night. I was over at your house and you had just got off, and I can't remember what we were talking about, but me and you and Jody were just talking about how finances can be an emotional time, right? And you guys have to deal with it. Obviously, there's a certain emotional time at tax season, but it's also like that just the whole year, because people who are keeping up with their finances are dealing with you, you know, a couple times a month or once a month, however that's set up. How do they get over that emotional hurdle, like of being embarrassed or overwhelmed, to be like, man, I'm all jacked up. All my stuff's jacked up, but I got to start now. I kind of came to you like that. I was like, man, I want to just be so much better at my financial side than I'm being. And I was very honest with you. And then we just moved past it and I just start growing, right? Because understanding your financial numbers is going to be like the make or break of your the rest of the growth that you can have with your business.
I think that people just have to realize that they're not finance experts. Like this is, I'm not a gutter expert. Like, you know, you've seen some of the janky stuff around that I have around my house, and you're like, I'm going to work this out for you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I feel a little embarrassed that I have you as a client and I have some janky gutter work that's been done that you're going to fix for me. But at the end of the day, listen, I'm not a professional. I slap some things together and you're going to come fix it. And I'm going to learn something from the whole process. And that's the way that finances are. Like, you come to me, I prefer, again, I said it from the onset, and that is that we're really interested in working with people that really want to be educated about their numbers, but realize that that's not their expertise, but that they've hired somebody that's looking out for them and that it is their expertise. And then I'll try and, give you an education as to, hey, this is what we should do differently, or we can be more aggressive here, or let's do this to help you out, or maybe you're spending too much money in this area. And then you can make the correction in your business as the operator in doing it. And you've just gained this knowledge base that will put you up on the competition. Yeah. Okay. So, show me a successful gutter business that's over $1 million that has terrible books. Yeah. You're probably not going to find it unless that guy grew so quickly, like he hit the magic. He hit the magic formula, and somehow he's just got more business coming in the door that he knows what to do with. And like the financial part of his business, kind of falls by the wayside in that instance. But again, we're talking about a unicorn there. We're talking about a unicorn. That's not my experience. And in fact, it applies to every industry. I don't know a single industry that is running that, if they don't have a solid financial records, that they basically limit their growth or cap their growth accordingly, because, there's a lot of things that go into your financials, as a business owner, like Grant, like without proper financials or knowing your numbers, do you know when it's time to hire another installer? Right. I mean, these are just, kind of picking the low-hanging fruit of stuff that your financials should be able to tell you. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys that may be out there and be like, yeah, I know how to hire another installer because like I've got a 6-week lead time on my, on my installs. I'm not saying that financials are the end all be all to make decisions, but they certainly could help you a lot in, that specific decision. I already talked about advertising spend. Maybe it's better to, maybe you can investigate buying stuff in a greater quantity to bring your product costs down.
Yep.
Anything like that. Maybe you have a project manager that's costing you a lot of money and he's not cranking out the jobs, and maybe that guy needs to get let go. These are things that that are relatively a lot easier decisions if you're actually looking at the numbers and base them in something that's concrete, not just on, I have a feeling that guy's not doing his job.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense. Jason, thanks for dropping some real world wisdom today. Y'all, if you want to stop guessing at your margins and avoid that sinking feeling next tax season, check out the FlexKeeper. That's theflexkeeper.com. Come see him at the summit and look forward to a webinar this summer with Jason, or maybe we'll get Jody on.
Yeah, I keep twisting her arm. I keep saying, like she's the better looking part of FlexKeeper. But she never wants to do a webinar with you. I don't know why.
Maybe I'll have to ask her. Hey guys, until next time, tighten your books, know your numbers, and keep growing. Jason, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grant.
Absolutely.